be thoughtful about that stuff as a kind of defense. I think bullies and people like that pick on single individuals, so try to not be that.
Well, we're coming up at the end of our time here today. I know we've been in our feelings, but I also wanted to let folks know that for our podcast that Jim and I host, and Jim produces, we have a new episode of This Queer Book Saved My Life. It is a special limited series that we are doing where the guests of the show are owners and or managers of LGBTQ bookstores, or bookstores that have a very clear LGBTQ focus, which is what this week's episode just dropped. It's the owner of, let's see here, Chris Kleindienst, owner of Left Bank Books. Chris is a 56-year-old progressive bookstore.
Isn't she like 72?
Is a 72-year-old queer, lesbian writer, bookseller, and activist. Left Bank Books is a 56-year-old progressive bookstore in St. Louis. So you can check that out everywhere that you get your podcasts. Thanks, everyone, for listening today. We'll be back here with you tomorrow. Up next in Chicago, Choose Views with Richard Chu, and on AM 950 is The Matt McNeil Show. Until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.
You're listening to WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk station, where facts matter and truth always wins. Stay informed, stay engaged.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports on another setback for SpaceX.
Elon Musk's SpaceX launched its mega rocket Starship Tuesday evening, but the spacecraft re-entered the Earth's atmosphere out of control.
We are in essentially a tumble. We had lost that attitude control. We are entering uncontrolled, but again, we're entering into an airspace and a sea space that is cleared and monitored in advance of launch.
SpaceX later confirmed that the spacecraft had broken apart as it skimmed space toward the Indian Ocean. The more than 400-foot rocket blasted off from the southern tip of Texas on its 9th demo from the Starbase launch site. SpaceX had planned to release a series of mock satellites following liftoff, but that was scrapped when the door failed to open all the way. Musk said in a post on X that the flight was a big improvement from the two previous demos, which ended in flaming debris over the Atlantic, and he's promising a future launch pace of 1 every 3 to 4 weeks, at least for the next 3 flights. I'm Donna Warder.
Gaza's health ministry says 1 Palestinian was killed and 48 others wounded when gunshots were fired on a crowd that broke through fences around a new aid distribution site in Gaza. It was not immediately clear who opened fire. An AP journalist heard Israeli tank and gunfire and saw a military helicopter firing flares. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, backed by the U.S. and Israel, says its military contractors had not fired on the crowd but fell back before they resumed operations. Israel said its troops nearby had fired warning shots. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Berlin to meet with Germany's new Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Germany has been the second biggest supplier of military aid to Ukraine after the U.S. The visit comes 2 days after Merz said his country and other allies are no longer imposing any range restrictions on weapons supplied to Ukraine. This is AP News. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports a German court has ruled against a Peruvian farmer in a landmark climate lawsuit where he claimed global warming fueled by historical greenhouse gas emissions had put his home at risk.
Farmer and mountain guide Saul Luciano Laya had argued glaciers above his hometown in Peru are melting, increasing the risk of catastrophic flooding. RWE, which has never operated in the country, has denied legal responsibility, saying the case would set a dangerous precedent by holding individual emitters accountable for global climate change. RWE insists climate solutions should be addressed through state and international policies, not the courts. Experts say Laia's argument had the potential to set a significant precedent in the fight to hold major polluters accountable for climate change. I'm Charles Ledesma.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News. Have a good morning.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered rain showers here for today with cloudy skies and temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance for rain, cloudy, a low near 53. By Thursday, a slight chance for rain showers here late, cloudy skies, high of 68 degrees. Friday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Blend of clouds and sunshine develops, high of 79. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 59.
Summer's here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Wednesday morning, progressives, and welcome to the May 28th. See, I got the day right today. It's not Monday. It's not Tuesday. It's Wednesday. 28th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. You know what? That's our Credo mobile phone and text line. That's who they are. Credo Mobile. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Catch me on Substack. And also catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can get Choose Views short version and long versions there. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, and, of course, our Out Chicago folks and our other wonderful shows and interviews. Check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform. Most definitely you want to make your way over there. And one of the things that's interesting about Heartland is you can send that stuff to your folks. You can send those articles and those profiles that we have over there to the people that you care about. And I think that will help serve them. That will serve you well because you'll be providing them with information that they need to make their days better and a little bit more informative. So make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. And right now, check this out, progressives.
I don't spend much time on TikTok, and now I remember why. I ended up on the MAGA Talk side of life and all the red pill content, and I found the new catchphrase, black fatigue, because privilege must be so difficult after they experienced 250 years of slavery, about 89 years of segregation, and then now that they have some semblance of civil rights, and they're taking up space, that must be so hard for you. But I went down the rabbit hole because I'm apparently a masochist, and this was a really bad day to stop drinking. I went to their profiles, and every single one of their profiles have a Bible verse in it. The same Bible, in fact, that says in Genesis 1:27, "For he created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." That's really weird. It doesn't say anything about it just being white people. Let's go over to the big header, John 3:16. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." See, it's weird here. It says world. It doesn't say white people only. And in Romans 2:11, it says that God shows no favoritism. The Good Samaritan was good because he crossed racial boundaries to help someone who was in need. Let's go to Galatians 3:28. It says, "For there is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." And then Matthew 25, he says, "For whatever you did not do for the least of these, you did not do for me." I am so tired of the goddamn hypocrisy. You'll jump in on 6 clobber verses about homosexuality that the translators admitted was a mistranslation, but you ignore the 29 verses about adultery because you're too busy committing it. You ignore the 400 verses about taking care of the alien and the immigrant and the foreigner because we don't want to follow that part of the Bible, and the 2,000 verses commanding you to take care of the poor. What does God ask of you? To act justly and love mercy and walk humbly before your God, you raging hypocrites.
You raging hypocrites. Yeah. And that is the essence of this administration. Raging hypocrites. And one of the areas of hypocrisy is their lack of skill and talent to be in the roles that they're in this administration. Hypocrisy in the sense, we've got to get rid of DEI because these people aren't qualified. Well, you all aren't qualified in the administration. Talking about raging hypocrisy. And by the way, thanks, Monty Marty. She's something else. I have more to come from her, trust me. And we're working hard to get her on the show. But raging hypocrisy, right here in this conversation around DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. For those who've been encouraging me to say the words, thank you. There's a lot of hypocrisy in this. These folks are, how did this general get this job? Because he earned it, Pete Hegseth. And the list goes on and on and on. Just in that space, raging hypocrisy. When it comes to the so-called Christian right and Christian belief, they're going to lay down all of their quote-unquote Christian ideologies to have this guy be their leader. And this whole garbage run, he's the second coming of craziness. Yeah, that for sure. I'll agree with you on. And here's the other one that blows me away. When they talk about being the quote unquote law and order party. Law and order, my behind. You guys have those who are the MAGA followers, and I'm raising it, Henry, to the GOP in general, because they're all complicit. Whether it be Susan Collins, who, by the way, you got to get behind Jordan Wood, who's running against her. He's launched his campaign. He was on the show yesterday. Or it be Lisa Murkowski. What is it about opposite ends of the country, literally, two U.S. Republican U.S. senators, opposite ends of the country, that don't do a damn thing but talk about how concerned they are, and for Susan, and how scared we are for Lisa Murkowski. Hypocrisy at its finest when it comes to law and order and putting the checks and balances on this dude. The Republicans who have the numbers in the House of Representatives have the ability, they have the numbers to shut this dude down, but they won't do it. But they run around talking about sending criminals back to wherever we want to get the criminals and the bad folks out of our country. But at the same time, they've got the biggest criminal elected to a public office on a national level as their leader. Yeah, I heard a lot of people during the Biden-Harris term talk about that Joe Biden wasn't their president, that Donald Trump was their president. Well, now you got him, and guess what? Donald Trump is not my president. He's not. He is the person that's in the office, but he's not my president. And y'all can play that however you want, but that to me is a fair statement. But coming back to the point about hypocrisy, like Monty says, she's right on point. You raging hypocrites. You got a dude that has broken more of the quote-unquote Christian guidelines, if you will. I'm just trying to find the right word. Christian tenets of Christianity. You got a guy who is fronts on the whole conversation around law and order, and an administration even more broadly that's talking about getting people out of the country that are here illegally, and no due process for people who are here on this soil and have to be schooled by Representative Crockett to help you understand it's in the Constitution. Hypocrisy when it comes to education. You got a bunch of dumb people running around, or people acting dumb. Let me clean it up for those who get a little bit, squishy when we call people names. We'll talk about their behavior. We got a bunch of squishies running around, acting dumb, but pretending to be smart and knowing it all, when in fact you got an administration that's trying to tear down education based on an act of retribution. Nothing genuinely in place that Harvard's done. Okay, I mean there's some quote unquote. I'd like to look into the activities of discrimination at some of these quote unquote religious colleges, the liberty universities of the world, and others, and how they've been discriminatory against people of color, black folks and people of color, people of the LGBTQ community, and the list goes on. So don't come at me or anybody else about, the Dems are breaking the laws, or Harvard University as a global university is, we're going to punish them. Hypocrisy. Raging hypocrites. We're going to talk about another part of this when we come back from this break, but let's take a quick break. The number here is 773-763-9278. That's the Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
I have a treat. Tom Skilling, Chicago's weather man emeritus. Look, I trust you a whole lot more than I trust Elon Musk to tell me what works in weather prediction. So what do you think are the consequences of their gutting NOAA and the National Weather Service?
Oh, it's awful. It's just awful. Our Weather Service is an institution that's been around in one form or another since 1870. And what's going on right now with these budget cuts at NOAA and the National Weather Service, really threaten the integrity of the system. Do you realize, Edwin, in the course of a day, our National Weather Service collects 6.3 billion weather observations. In the course of a year, it will produce 1.5 million forecasts and 50,000 warnings of one form or another. These are essential. They're life-saving.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to the show, 773-763-9278. We'll open up the lines, give you guys a chance to give us a holler this morning. We'll be taking your calls from now until, throughout the entire show. But as you know, it's Wednesday, and our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 will be with us. He's got some cool stuff going on that we'll chat about. And also, Illinois State Senator Lakesia Collins will be with us to talk a little bit about homeowners' rights here in the state of Illinois. So let me keep it on the train this morning. When we come back from the next break, we're going to launch into a couple of interesting clips that I think you guys will appreciate. But for now, let's talk a little bit about what's happening here at Choose View's news. The numbers to watch this week. Inflation returns to the center stage. The Federal Reserve's preferred price gauge is expected to show slightly higher growth in April. The U.S. Personal Consumption and Expenditures Index is forecast to have risen an annual 2.2% last month, down from 2.3% in March. So some upcoming releases to be mindful of. Today, the Fed Open Market Committee will release the minutes from its last policy setting meeting. The meetings can potentially provide insight into future monetary policy. These are things that you guys should pay attention to. We talk a lot about all points of politics, but follow these. Follow what the Fed is doing, and it doesn't have to be necessarily boring, but get the different reports. You can go to their website and you can pull up that information and download it. Tomorrow, Thursday, the Bureau of Economic Analysis will release preliminary gross domestic product readings for the first quarter. U.S. Department of Labor will release its initial jobless claims for the previous week. And on Friday, the U.S. Department of Commerce will release April's personal consumption expenditure price index. So that's one to check out. And that does measure inflation. The report also measures the price of goods and services, not including food and energy. And University of Michigan will release its reading of May's Consumer Sentiment Index. Those are all things you can Google and download. Job confidence, unfortunately, is still dropping. Americans are a little pessimistic about their ability to find work as they were during the height of the pandemic. It's at that level. Again, among the active job seekers in the U.S., confidence in landing or keeping a job is a 10-plus scale from minus 100, plus 100. And so right now it's showing minus 110, minus 100 by 10 points. NPR sues the White House over funding. You guys saw this, and we have a little bit of an article to talk about that during the show. I'll potentially talk about that today. NPR, along with other public organizations, sued the White House yesterday over the executive order to end federal funding for both NPR and PBS. The plaintiffs allege the order violates their constitutional right to free speech. Of course, earlier this month, Donald Trump signed an order, y'all, requiring that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which spends over $500 million on public radio and TV stations annually, freeze all funding to NPR and PBS. But remember, the power of the purse rests with who, Henry? Congress, not Donald Trump. DEI retreat leaves many in the lurch. What does that mean? It wasn't long ago that countless major corporations were rushing to beef up their diversity, equity, and inclusion departments, only to subsequently hastily have a retreat just a couple years later. The sudden shift has left many professionals in the once thriving sector dwindling and uncertain about career prospects. And that's certainly one of the things that we saw as a report from NPR, of all places. And this is a big change for those who travel. Southwest bags now don't fly for free. It's the end of the bags fly free era for Southwest Airlines. The carrier has notified employees that it will begin charging $35 to check a single bag and $45 for additional checked items starting today. So I thought I'd let you guys know that for those who are traveling, as we're in that post-Memorial Day travel season. Southwest had previously said it planned to implement bag fees, but had not disclosed how much it would be or exactly when it would start. Bags fly free was once an integral part of Southwest's ethos, and that phrase had been trademarked, but financial and investor pressures have forced it to abandon that and other popular Southwest policies. That was coming. We could see it coming. And unfortunately, Southwest is, now that they've had some changes at the top and changes with their board, as we've talked about over the past few months, that's where we are. So, but you guys check out, make a point in terms of adding some value to your own, updates and information. Go to places like the U.S. Census Bureau. Go to places like the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the Department of Commerce, to get data. So you've got some of these numbers that we talk about when it comes to the economy. It sometimes can be boring and in the weeds, but it's information that you want to have readily available. So there you go. All right. We talked about hypocrisy. We talked about people who, in the area of hypocrisy, people who just are not qualified to be in the jobs that they're in. And we have this bill that's coming up that the Senate's going to have, some influence on. I guess that's the word I'm going to use this morning. So as I've said before, please, guys, make sure that you're calling your senators, calling your governors, calling your lieutenant governors and your AGs now, because they're going to be impacted immediately, meaning your governors, your lieutenant governors, your AGs, and even your comptrollers are going to be impacted by this bill if the Senate does pass it. But in the meantime, I want you guys to call the Capitol switchboard and make your voice heard, 202-224-3121. And I'll keep giving you this reminder for the next few days as we work through this and keeping you guys as up to speed on that as best we can. Today, I'm going to get my glasses back on because I can't read without them. Well, I can, but, I kind of stumble over the words. Today, on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be talking to David Graham, staff writer at The Atlantic and author of The Project, How Project 2025 is Reshaping America. Helen Kodowski, independent filmmaker and director of Stolen Time, a 2023 feature documentary that confronts the corporate nursing home industry through the eyes of a young elder rights attorney. And David Hochberg, Vice President of Lending for Team Hochberg at Homeside Financial. Live, Local, and Progressive, that's Joan Esposito, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Rebecca Williams, statewide organizer for Fair Vote Illinois, and Sean Smith Pierce, Joni Hamilton, co-host of the Politics Bar, now airing weeknights from 8 to 9 p.m. Central on WCPT. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow, here on my show, Michelle Peltier, one of the co-hosts of the Family Meeting, will be here with me, bringing you up to speed on a couple of things she's been looking into. And also, we'll be talking with the newly elected Omaha Mayor, John Ewing Jr. Looking forward to that conversation. So we'll really be looking forward to having that, both of them on tomorrow. All right, we've got another clip. We were talking about this whole conversation around people not being qualified for their jobs. And Henry and I came across this one that we thought would kind of tickle your fancy when we are talking about DEI, or maybe kind of a reverse DEI, but certainly one of meritocracy.
Today, I present to you the Cabinet of Meritocracy. Let's begin, shall we? First up is Frank Bisignano. I apologize if I said his name wrong, but he's a moron. He's the Commissioner of Social Security, and he had to Google what the Commissioner of Social Security does. Merit. Next we have Kristi Noem. Actually, I preferred this picture of Kristi Noem before all the plastic surgery. Kristi Noem said that habeas corpus is the president's constitutional right to deport anyone he wants. Merit. Next, Linda McMahon. Or actually, Linda McMahon. She's the head of the Department of Education, and when giving a speech that she clearly did not write, she called AI education A1 education. Merit. And you all know this broken voice box of the head of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., of the beloved Kennedy family. Recently, RFK Jr. swam in a bacteria-ridden, including, but not limited to, E. coli creek. Merit. And last but certainly not least, we have Pete Hegseth, more commonly known as Drunk Pete Hegseth. He's the head of the Department of Defense, and he installed a dirty line on his computer so that he can continue to use an unsecured messaging app, a messaging app on which he includes his wife in top-secret conversations. Merit. In conclusion, I'm so glad that we discovered that DEI was the problem, so we replaced it with this wonderful merit-based system. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, we're going to keep talking about them in terms of this qualification for the roles that they're in. And just so you know, this clip has video with it. And so when you hear her talk about, here's the Kristi Noem I prefer to the one that all the plastic surgery, there's some video to this as well. And then the one of Linda McMahon shows her her picture during her confirmation hearing, and then her picture when she was wrestling with the wrestling organization that she's a part of. So from wrestling to the Department of Education head. Wow. I think that my man Henry and myself could roll into the Department of Education and do a slightly better job than Linda McMahon is going to do for all of our children. And all of our citizens who are looking to get education and have the support of our government to be able to accomplish that. Henry and I could, and just common sense versus, and not to have a perspective that we're going to go in and axe things and get rid of things that are support tools for so many people. And here's the part that is so incredibly stupid on the part of the administration when it comes to the Department of Education. This is sort of our it's a baseline. It's our foundation, if you will. I'm not saying the Department of Education. I'm talking about education itself and making sure that we have a stronger citizenry. We want to make America great. This is where MAGA is acting stupid. And let me put it to you this way. We hear all the time people talk about, and we're coming up on a break, so let's take the break, because when we come back, I want to talk about this. This is something that's been in my notes, and I want to get to this. So let's take a quick break. 773-763-9278 is the Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? A man age 50 non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $110 per month. Level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, there are great rates available for you as well. Call Term Busters for a quote. 1-800-908-7636. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-908-7636. Remember, call Term Busters. 1-800-908-7636. Sample rate for preferred non-tobacco rate class. Exam required to qualify.
COVID-19 has cast a spotlight on the stark inequalities that drive poverty. The poorest communities in the U.S. and around the world are suffering the most. Oxfam believes we can put systems in place to protect health and livelihoods in the future if we work together with dignity and compassion. Learn how you can help offer safety to the most vulnerable and fight for a more resilient future at oxfamamerica.org. Sponsored by Oxfam America.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered rain showers here for today with cloudy skies and temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance for rain, cloudy, a low near 53. By Thursday, a slight chance for rain showers here late, cloudy skies, high of 68 degrees. Friday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Blend of clouds and sunshine develops, high of 79. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 59.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, Progressives, welcome back to the show. Give us a call at 773-763-9278 because it's the Credo Mobile phone and text line. Okay. Education. One of the things that how do I want to place this? All right, we're going to do it this way. So many of the folks on the right have said for decades, really probably three decades now, 2 for sure, that and even more recently, that the Democratic Party doesn't talk to the regular man, the regular folks, the everyday folks. Well, one of the core things that the Democratic Party has leaned into for a long time. And again, I don't know why we do this, Henry. This sort of caveat where we say it hasn't been perfect, but it's sort of like if we don't say that, we feel like we're giving people an opportunity to say, yeah, but you guys didn't do this. Okay, so to the extent that I'm going to say that, our departments of education have not been perfect. Okay, I've said that on a state level, certainly on a federal level. But the point I want to make about this, and it's a little bit layered, but I think you guys will get this. Just think about this for a second. The Democratic Party has been saddled with this. The Dems don't get it. They don't talk to the everyday, the regular man, the regular person, to be gender correct. We don't talk to the regular people. We don't get to we're too woke. And, and I saw this thing about Rahm Emanuel calling the Democratic Party weak and woke. Okay, good Lord, if he decides to run. But that's another conversation, too. We're too woke. We don't talk to the regular man or woman. But this is the thing that why education is so critically important in this conversation about talking to regular, quote unquote, the regular folks. Education is a foundational item that in our society, by having that baseline, that foundation of education from preschool, kindergarten, and on out, that gives us, it allows us to say, we've got this platform because we built this foundation to build a stronger society. So the hypocrisy around MAGA is a lot of pieces, but this is one in particular. They go after the quote unquote elite and the educated, and some people in the center left do this, which is kind of stupid. For propping up education, for propping up getting education, for propping up wanting to know more, to be about something when it comes to what's in your brain. They go after that crowd. They go after the universities, the people who are, putting themselves in a better position. And right now, what's happening in this space is that the administration is going after the, quote, elite universities or the northern universities but I don't see them going after any of the southern colleges, the SEC schools and the ones that are, the schools down in Texas as an example, where there's a lot of people who have gotten brilliant educations from the schools in Texas, from the schools in Alabama, from the schools in Louisiana, from the schools in Arkansas, in Florida, in many other red states, because a number of the red states, Ohio, and Indiana, the business school in Indiana, I think it's Kelly Business School, one of the best in the country. But you don't see the administration going after red state universities. But you see people in red states going after education more broadly and the elite. And some people in the center left saying we need to stop talking to the elites and talk to the regular man and woman. But doggone it, the stupid part about that is education is a foundation to build all of us as a society, to make us all better as a community, irrespective of the school that you go to on a college level, but on a high school, grade school, middle school, preschool level. That's a basic foundation for all of us. And how dare the dumbays in the country say that we should not have a Department of Education? And I'm not buying the argument that some people want to say, getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm not buying that argument, because one of the areas that has waste, fraud, and abuse that we just keep shoveling money into is the Department of Defense. But ain't nobody cutting anything from that. We got a lot of waste in our Department of Defense. And talk about an area where we really need to be efficient, where we're talking about potentially killing people. Another time, another day. Department of Education. Why in the hell would we cut? If there's an area where we would want to prop up and throw as much money as we possibly can toward that, it's the Department of Education on a federal level, and make sure every state has all the money that they need and the tools that they need to make sure that our foundation, one of the most foundational pieces of our society, is strong and stout. But the problem is, every time, and this is why I push back when someone says that there's no discrimination in our country, or that there's no, we had, yesterday there was what Dante King was talking about, Professor Dante King was talking about in this space, is that we have these historical, psychological, and sociological issues that are preventing our country from moving forward at this time at a greater rate than ever before. Our country is actually backing up. And it's starting with the fact that we are refusing to lean into education and make sure that our citizens are educated. When I say we're backing up, you look at other countries that we're always, we'll take right out of the gate, we'll take China and Japan. Now, we don't need to copy anybody's educational system. I'm not saying that we need to do what they're doing or what any other country's doing. I'm not going there. But I'm standing on business to say, doggone it, we need to make sure that our citizenry from K through 4 years of whatever, post-high school education, we'll say K through 12 and then some. We need to spend as much money as we possibly can and make sure that every person has that foundation and the competitive edge. Why? Because we're backing up as a society. Remember when Ross Perot made that comment years ago about that sucking sound that you're hearing are the jobs leaving the country going to other places? And I'm not quoting him exactly, but you guys who've been around long enough know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, Google it. Well, that's what's happening with our education. Is that the sucking sound that you're hearing is the brain drain of having why would you want to elect a president that says that he likes I get it. It was his way of giving a shout out to those who want to beat up on education or educated folks. But I don't see anybody in the administration going after the southern universities, or not one damn university in a red state. Not one. Not one. Prove it to me. Somebody call me and tell me a state, an institution of education that the Trump administration is going after that's in a red state. And if you show me that university, then I'll say, okay, you're right about that. I'll say it on the air. But the big deal right now is going after Harvard and then and other, quote, elite universities. Well, candidly, if you get into a college and to me, that's a pretty elite thing. Okay? There's some people who've changed the world that went to a small little school in a state that's got, a third of the population of another state. But they went to, because they were smart and hardworking, they've changed the world. Not every person that's changed the world has gone to the quote-unquote labeled elite universities. They haven't. Trust me. There's some folks, and you guys know I'm right about this. Look at your own career. Here's a good example of this conversation around what Dante King was talking about yesterday, in part about how discrimination and bias. And yeah, we understand that legacy was part of what he was discussing. And we understand that there's going to be, a person, if you're in a position of hiring, you're going to probably hire someone that you know, or you're going to try to bring in someone that you know. I get all that. And we didn't have enough time to more deeply dive into that. But the point is, if there is a if there is a conversation that we need to have around improving how our citizens can operate, then I think it has to start with education. It has to start with how do we make sure that on every level people are strengthening their brain. And I said this a moment ago, and I don't want to forget to come back to this. K through 12, given. More money, more opportunity, more time, more investment, and then providing tools for post-high school for folks who want to go into the trades or go into another area that doesn't require for your college degree. That to me is how a country says, let's look at the landscape and see what we can do to improve our society. So I just, and this is the other part. When it comes to this conversation around, we're lost ground in manufacturing. Well, we probably have. But we've picked up ground in other areas. The problem is other countries have picked up ground in other areas and manufacturing. Why? Because we haven't taken the time to educate our communities. It's a fact, guys. It just is. And we've got to be more diligent about pushing this conversation. Cutting the Department of Education ironically is an uneducated thing to do. Let's grab a quick call, Henry. Let's see who is it. Heidi? Yeah. Hey, good morning, Heidi. Welcome to Choose Views.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
And thanks for calling.
I just wanted to counterpoint on the education. How you mentioned they're not going after red states. I kindly disagree because they did go after the University of Alabama. They cut a whole bunch of their funds, and in Alabama, the university there is the state. And then also University of Indiana and Notre Dame. So Indiana just a couple days ago said they're getting rid of DEI because of Trump's policies, and now they have their eyes set on Notre Dame as well, both in red states.
So what?
Yes.
No, and that's why I asked. What did I say? I said call me and tell me, because I know a lot, but I don't know everything. I've said that so many times.
I did. I was jumping out of my seat. But the thing is, though, for the red states, it's quieter. So the blue states, it's that's making the airwaves, that's making the news, and it's just horrible what they're doing to Harvard, especially because that's where medical research comes in. That's where the scientists are going to be for the next COVID, next pandemic, whatever. And, if we start losing these young kids from foreign countries coming over here with the brains that they have, because let's face it, their education system in some of these other countries are higher than ours.
Without a doubt.
So we're brain draining them for our benefit.
Heidi, let me ask you a question. Stay with us for a second. Sure. I know. Why is it happening at the University of Alabama? You said University of Alabama or University of Arkansas?
University of Alabama. So they went after tax dollars there. So they cut, the budgets for Alabama. And so the Alabama folks said, hey, give us a waiver or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what happened from that because I'm not from there.
Got it.
But they, so they are cutting it. And like I said, a lot of these universities are scared, so they're getting rid of their DEI programs quietly. They're doing it very quietly.
So therein lies the conversation. The only way that they're not going to be gone after is if they get rid of something, and it seems like it starts with DEI. So then I'm going to back the train up even further. And thank you. This is why I asked the question. I said call me because I want to know, and everybody else needs to know. So the bigger conversation, to your point, is we are going to continue to lose ground. We're backing up. We're not moving forward. Yeah. We're not taking advantage of all of this opportunity to increase the knowledge of our students, of our children. But this is on a college level that this is happening. The core of this is the Department of Education saying that when we look at their assistance and help with state programs, that's the other big problem here, is that we aren't even creating the baseline to make sure that kids can go to the University of Alabama or University of Indiana or to Notre Dame.
Definitely. Because you have high schools, there's many programs. I know one of my co-workers or cohorts from Indiana University, the philanthropy section, she works with high school students, disenfranchised high school students, mostly black, in southern Florida, who are looking to go to college, but they don't have the parents to mentor off of. Mm-hmm. So this group works with the students in high school to get them prepared how to secure loans, et cetera, how to apply to colleges, and get them in the colleges. And it's not, any type of, just to fill the seats. It's because they have the education, the grades to get into school, but they just don't know how to do it. But now what you're doing is you're cutting it off, and basically they're saying the only way that you're going to be able to go to college is if you have rich moms and daddy paying for it, because now you can't even get student loans. Yeah. I mean, try, the backup with that. So, they're basically forcing people to work in these, factories that don't exist, doing mindless jobs. So that's not what America set out for.
Well, Hetty, here's the thing too, and someone sent me what's happening in Indiana, and I'll wait to talk about that later in the show with the University of Indiana. But the conversation, and I appreciate you calling and informing us as you have with regard to these couple of other universities. At the end of the day, this is a conversation about why would we be cutting ourselves off from the ability to have our entire citizenry grow and be stronger? Well, ultimately, it comes down to what you said. I said it in part, is that this administration, through Project 2025, does not want to see, candidly, black, brown, LGBTQ, and women candidly get educated.
Yeah.
And only. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, they want to hold their thumb on the scale. They want to be controlled completely with everything, with, female rights, gender rights, everything they want to have control of, this small percentage of people. And it's just so shameful that, I cannot believe that we're in this state for this bozo, this revenge tour that he's doing. And then these corporate leaders are following
How stupid of the corporate,
they're kowtowing to it.
How stupid of a corporation that needs brains to run to help build and grow their businesses would they say, well, we don't want it.
Not only that, but to purchase their products.
Bingo.
They're shooting themselves in the foot. Totally and completely. Look what's happening with Tesla. I mean, do you not think if we're going to have $3,000 phones, people are going to be buying them? Heck no. I'm going to be putting food in my refrigerator. I'm not going to be buying a car. Are you kidding me?
Man, Heidi, listen, you are a refreshing voice this morning. I got to tell you.
Oh, thank you.
I love the energy. I love the contribution and helping us as we navigate through this craziness. So, Heidi, thank you for calling.
Thank you very much. So your shows, this channel has kept me sane since November. I think I called the day after. So I thank you very much for being out there. It's wonderful to hear other voices and other perspectives that aren't sanitized from the general media. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Heidi. Thank you for your contribution. Stay strong. We're here for you. You know that.
Thank you.
All right.
Too. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Let's take a quick break, Henry. 773-763-9278 is a Credo mobile phone and text line. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together to manage your finances today while planning for a better tomorrow. ABOC, a bank built on a strong foundation.
Visit aboc.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to Choose Views. Thanks for taking the time to be with us this morning, and shout out to our to our friend Heidi, who was energized, and we have to have more and more of that. I had an interesting text. Let me read this. Let me see if I can read this without tearing anything up. It's red states, but blue cities. These colleges are okay. They're going after blue colleges in red states. Okay, yeah, that's a thanks 832 for that. And this person's down in Texas. Thank you for that. That does kind of add some clarity. That is part of maybe the wording that could be added to this is going after schools that have, for lack of better words, a liberal bent. Henry, would that be kind of part of it? Okay, Notre Dame wouldn't necessarily be that school because they don't, but we get it. No, it's Notre Dame. Okay, so I want to come back to something that was part of what Heidi said. Listen, the reason I wanted to talk about this morning, and I was looking at, we talk about this whole thing around meritocracy and dropping our educational standards. It's about dumbing down the country and about making people less capable of functioning, taking away things that are backboards, that are support systems. It's all about tearing down people in a way that makes them dependent. That's not making people great again. Maybe a select few, but it's not making the larger society great again. I got, I don't know if the word criticize. There were comments about my position on how racism, discrimination, and bias. And I stand on the business and where I was and where I am on that. Because at the end of the day, the people that are making these decisions don't look like me. They represent a crowd of folks that want the only people in the room to look like them. And you don't have to believe me, just look at the evidence. Look at the people that were replaced, and look at the people who are now in the administration, and look at how incapable they are. Look at how weak they are. And they represent something about the country that people outside of the country are laughing at, and they should. And that is that for the longest time, America's been so concerned about having a white male, a white cis male, or whatever it is, cisgender society. It just is. And this is where I think a lot of times people think I'm being biased or racist. I had a couple people yesterday that sent texts and emails that said that they felt that I was being a little bit biased in my opinion or observation about discrimination, and I respect that. I'm certainly not being racist, but I am certainly going to be. I'm going to stand on business when it comes to what I see, and that is the people that are making these decisions that are harming everybody happen to not look like me, and they're not decisions that are going to help cultures that look like people of cultures that look like me. So, education, just use that as an example. Then we get into the conversations around Medicaid, Medicare, Medicaid. Then we get into the conversation around due process. And, Eric Grant has said this over the years. Yeah, we are not in total lockstep with everything that the Democratic Party has done. There needs to be some changes through and through. Younger blood in terms of their voices and what they're doing, younger energy. That doesn't mean that an older person can't be that. So let's not get that screwed up. All those things. We get it. However, the one thing that the Democratic Party in my lifetime has done is it's leaned into things that we're going to do its best to help the most amount of people. And there's a reason that folks like John Kerry stepped up and said, stop piling on Joe Biden, because Joe Biden was a president that represented doing stuff for people that didn't vote for him. Probably like no other president in modern times, even Barack Obama. I'm not saying that Barack Obama didn't or that Bill Clinton didn't, but President Biden made it very, very clear. Even if you didn't vote for me, I'm down with. And let's give it. And the reason I'm saying it that way is, and he name a president, left, right, that went and hung out with the unions and rallied with the union members. So when I hear that the Democrats aren't doing enough, I get it. And I walk down that lane and I do my best to drag the conversation so that we can make it better. But the reason that I've leaned in the direction of being a progressive liberal Democrat, how I follow and what I do, is because that party has shown up to do the best it can for the most amount of people. And when we talk about the things that are being torn down right now, the Democratic Party isn't tearing down education or tearing down Medicare and Medicaid or tearing down other tools to make us better and stronger. It's a fact, y'all. And maybe we need to speak to that more. Maybe there is some requirement that we hammer that home harder. I would be stupid to deny that. But, these tariffs, Medicare and Medicaid changes, going after a university or universities because you don't like how they're teaching or what they're teaching, which is about bettering and improving people. And to Heidi's point, we're going to lose that brain trust war. We're going to lose it. We're losing it now. We're already going backwards. Those are the things that the Democratic Party has tried to stand up for. I mean, I know, look, I'm not in the business of agreeing with anybody all the time or everybody at any time. I'm in the business of agreeing with what makes sense, stating my position, you state yours, and now. But if our ultimate goal is to get to the finish line with the victory and the gold medal, then let's do that. Okay, we both. And I look at me saying it that way in terms of us all not having to agree on everything as a. I'll use a track and field analogy, and it's the relay races. And I'll use a 4x100 because that's my favorite. Not everybody is equipped to run the first leg of the race, or the second, or the third, or the fourth. You have to find your spot in that four-legged race and run your behind off when you get the baton. It's a team effort. It requires cooperation. It requires understanding. It requires discipline. But the goal is to get across the finish line with the gold. And so right now, the Democratic Party, I think, could take if anything, we can take that as a tool. How do we all run this race and run our part of the race? Meanwhile, beat the hell out of the Republicans. Beat them down. They're caustic. They're chaotic. They're a danger to the country. Talk about a danger to the country. It's not the LGBTQ community. It's not being woke. It's none of that. The most dangerous thing in this country right now is the Republican Party, the GOP. They are the most destructive part of America right now. It is not the Democratic Party. It is not being woke. It's the Republican Party. It's the GOP. The GOP in the House of Representatives and in the Senate have the ability, by law, they're required to put the brakes on Donald Trump, and they're not doing it. That makes them the most destructive. So Bernie Sanders, you're wrong. What you said on that podcast, the Democratic Party is not the worst part of this conversation. It's the Republican Party, and we need to tell them that every doggone day, period, in an unfiltered way. I guess I just did. Let's take a break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. In the summer of 1881, 2 decades after the Civil War, 20 African-American laundresses met at a local church in Atlanta to form the Washing Society, a trade organization which looked to create a higher uniform wage and greater work autonomy for laundresses, also known as washerwomen. Through the help of local preachers and door-to-door canvassing, the Washing Society grew from 20 members to 3,000 in only a few weeks. The workers went on strike and faced opposition from their employers as well as the local politicians. The Atlanta City Council proposed a licensing fee for their organizing efforts. The strikers agreed to the fee in exchange for self-regulation. In the end, the City Council rejected the proposed fees and the laundresses prevailed. The impact of the strike led to increased wages for some, but showed that African-American workers, including women, were vital to the New South economy. This has been a WCPT moment in labor. We're working for your rights.
From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. 2 men are now facing human smuggling charges more than 3 years after a family of 4 from India froze to death in a blizzard while trying to cross into the U.S. They were part of a sophisticated illegal operation that brought dozens of people from India to Canada on student visas and then smuggled them across the U.S. border. Harsh Kumar Ramanlal Patel and Stephen Anthony Shrand could now face more than 10 years in prison. Gaza's health ministry says 1 Palestinian was killed and 48 others wounded when gunshots were fired on a crowd that broke through fences around a new aid distribution site in Gaza. It was not immediately clear who opened fire. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, backed by the U.S. and Israel, says its military contractors had not fired on the crowd but fell back before they resumed operations. Israel said its troops nearby had fired warning shots. In a news conference, the UN's Ajit Sunge says getting medical aid into Gaza or the West Bank has never been easy.
Hospitals have been attacked, ambulances have been attacked, health workers have been attacked. So I don't see ambulances waiting for people in a food distribution point. That has never been the situation.
The Trump administration is asking the Supreme Court to halt a judge's order allowing migrants to challenge their deportations to South Sudan. The emergency appeal came after a judge found the White House violated a court order with a deportation flight to the African nation. The flight carried people from other countries who had been convicted of crimes in the U.S. The judge says people must be given a chance to raise objections before being sent to another country that would put them in danger. World shares are mixed after a closely watched auction of 40-year Japanese government bonds fell flat as worries mount over growing levels of debt. U.S. futures were little changed and oil prices rose. This is AP News. Turkish authorities say airline passengers who unbuckle their seatbelts or access overhead compartments before their plane has fully stopped now face fines under new regulations.
The Turkish Aviation Authority has issued the updated rules following passenger complaints and flight inspections, indicating a growing number of safety violations during airplane taxiing, often leading to chaotic disembarkations, and now warning passengers that safety violations will be reported to the Aviation Authority. Turkish media is reporting fines of up to $70 will be imposed. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
SpaceX launched another Starship from South Texas on Tuesday, but it tumbled out of control, broke apart, and went down into the Indian Ocean. In a post on X, CEO Elon Musk noted it was a big improvement from the two previous demos, which ended in flaming debris over the Atlantic. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered rain showers here for today with cloudy skies and temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance for rain, cloudy, a low near 53. By Thursday, a slight chance for rain showers here late, cloudy skies, high of 68 degrees. Friday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Blend of clouds and sunshine develops, high of 79. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 59.
Career changers, including veterans and active duty service members. Your transition starts here. Go from GI to IT in a matter of months. Become a certified cyber warrior with training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, offering IT pros great opportunities and a rewarding lifestyle while protecting our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. Deploy your career in IT today. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, progressives. Welcome back to Choose Views. And, of course, the Credo mobile phone and text line is 773-763-9278. Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people and, of course, the planet. Go to their website, credomobile.com. Check them out. And tonight at 8, don't miss the Politics Bar, the new show hosted by Jody Hamilton of Stephanie Miller Show fame, Sean Smith Pierce, former executive producer of The Randy Rhoads Show. Pull up a chair, grab something to drink, and they will get you up to speed on the news of the day. For fans of The Gailey Show, you can now watch it at 5 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Same show, new time. There you go. All right. Well, it's that time of the day on a Wednesday when our good friend Kurt Mullett from where? Hoosier Blue 63 is with us this morning. And as always, it is great to get to Wednesday so I can have a big A smile on my face because I know that Kurt and I are going to have some fun talking about what the hell is going on right now.
Good morning, Richard. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm really I'm doing great. How about yourself? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful. I just, how much time do we have?
Yes, I know.
This is just unbelievable. It goes by so quickly, and there's just so many things that it's.
How was your Memorial Day? How was your Memorial Day weekend?
It was great.
Good.
It was great.
Did you do any yard work?
I was just going to tell you. I had to do some of my favorite stuff. My wife had me out there, with her list, and not really. She's not bad at it at all. But yeah, I had to do some yard work, and I got more to do. So, rub it in, buddy. I appreciate that.
What y'all don't understand is Kurt and I have this. I guess it's no longer a side joke in private. It's now a public joke that he likes to bust my chops about the fact that I'm really into yard work, and I call myself having a little bit of a green thumb, quote unquote. But he's like, man, I don't like to do yard work. Don't even talk about, if he asks me, so how was your weekend? And the first thing that I say is, well, I got some yard work done. He kind of grouses at me like, really? So that's our now public, used to be side joke about yard work. So There you go.
And I don't like it, but I do it. I do it. Right. And I'm very good at it, but I don't like it. I don't. It's not enjoyable to me.
Oh, too funny.
So anyway.
Crazy A week, though. You're right. Time goes by quickly, but good Lord.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Unreal,
man.
Unbelievable.
So let me ask you this question. I know there's a couple things you wanted to throw out or talk about, but so you guys, this is why you want to follow Kurt Mullett, Hoosier Blue 63. He's always putting something out for folks to think about, something to review, something to do. And then the category of something to do, Kurt, tell folks about what you kind of got behind, kind of pushed with regard to the Supreme Court.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I think it was yesterday I opened up Instagram and was looking at it, and there was a post about sending postcards to the Supreme Court to stop the funding for ICE that's happening. So I thought, hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to get behind this. So I did a little bit of thinking, and I put out a reel and a post. But anyway, what it is I'm trying to get 20,000 people. And I know that seems like an enormous amount of number, but it really isn't when you get into the social media world. If people share and talk about it, we can get to that number real quickly. 20,000 people, each of us send 5 postcards. That's 100,000 postcards that we can send to the Supreme Court saying, no kings, no immunity, protect the Constitution. That's what we're trying to achieve. And then I took it a little bit further, and I thought, well, okay, now what if those 20,000 people that we make contact with, what if each one of those individuals contacted 5 of their friends? Well, that's an additional 100,000 people. So that's 120,000 people. If we send 5 postcards, that's 600,000 postcards. Do you think that they would pay attention to that? And then I thought, well, let's take it a step further. What if we decide instead of 5, you send 10? 10 postcards. I mean, what's that going to cost you? $3 or $4, $5? So
go ahead.
That's 1.2 million postcards sent to the Supreme Court. So,
and what kind of impact? What kind of impact? Let's just go down this rabbit hole for a second, since we did some quick math. What kind of impact do you think it would have for the Supreme Court to get postcards referencing no immunity, no kingship, no kinghood? What do you think that would actually do? Or potentially, I shouldn't say actually, but potentially do.
Well, I think if it was an individual thing that happened, I don't know what kind of an impact it would have on them. And also how they would trickle in. You know, if they waited and collected all of them that came in and brought them in a duffel bag and dumped them on the desk. Hey,
like Miracle on 34th Street. I knew you were going to go there.
There you go. That would have an impact. But I think with everything that is going on, because there's phone calls being made, there's protests that are happening, there's other postcards being sent, So I think, and then just the plain what he's doing and some of the things that's happening and his burning of the Constitution, I think this will have an impact. But, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as people say, well, what can I do? Yep. This is what you can do. If you can't get out and protest, if you don't have the time or the money or the ability to do that, you can do this. You can go buy 10 postcards. I have a meme on my page, but you can Google the Supreme Court of the United States, and it'll give you the address. You could fill it out. You don't have to fill out a bunch of words. Just put no kings, no immunity, and send it.
Yeah,
that's how you could get involved. That's how we fight autocracy and authoritarianism and dictators, and we fight this regime because that's what's happening in our country. So it's just a way that I just try to find different things like you do that we can talk to people about and to get them involved in. So, and this is just one of the things that we can do. So, hopefully
it's a great tool. We're talking with Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blues 63 about postcards going to the Supreme Court, and I think that the to measure what the effectiveness would be in terms of a specific thing, that would be kind of hard to do. But I think the more important part is incremental involvement. When people ask the question, "What do I do?" To your point, Kurt, how do I get involved? How can I have an impact? It's things like this that are creative and kind of, out of the box to some extent. People have been sending postcards for a long, long time. But have we had a concerted effort to send them to the Supreme Court? I don't recall that ever being a thing that we've done. We talked about it going to elected officials. We talked about that conversation, but we haven't had this one. And I think this is what's brave and smart and creative about it, and we'll see what happens. But we definitely can continue to push this and continue to push this effort. What are your thoughts? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? And I'm going to come back to something that other thing that you're doing. But what are your thoughts about the appearance of I almost said 45, but 47 at the graduation ceremony at West Point.
Richard, I'm so sick of this guy. He makes my skin crawl. He is just. I'm trying to think of words that don't take me to the beeper that Henry has there. He's an idiot. He's a fool. He's a psychopath. He's deranged. I mean, first off, he showed up at both ceremonies wearing his MAGA hat. Okay, and so then at one ceremony we had to listen to trophy wives. He rambled on about trophy. I mean, are you serious? Talking about these Joe Biden and enrollment in the military and how he's everything he does is the greatest it's ever been and the best it's ever been. And I mean, he's better than Abraham Lincoln and George. I mean, this guy is just completely off the rails. So, and people are too stupid to understand that actually enrollment in the military services was up under Joe Biden. But, that's neither here nor there. So, and then he goes to Arlington Cemetery and rambles. It's such a disrespectful thing for him to do on a day when we really need to honor those people who gave everything they had to protect the freedoms of our country. And then this guy's up there who's actually destroying everything that every single one of those individuals in Arlington Cemetery are buried because they were protected. He's trying to destroy. It's just, you were talking about hypocrisy earlier.
Yeah.
Can you define it any other way? Is there any other definition that proves what that is more than what he did this weekend? I mean, just a disgusting.
As the commander-in-chief, to go and to have that kind of presentation and representation of the office, to go to really a very I don't get overly sympathetic or empathetic about this, but a place where these individuals who are graduates there are going to very immediately put their lives on the line for the country in a very short period of time. And to have this dude roll in and show such disrespect for those who are living and about to put their lives on the line and those who have given their lives, it just and so again, I go back to something that you've heard me say tons of times on my show. We blame the elected officials, and that's why I've been trying to work hard to separate when we say Democrats or Republicans, that we talk about the elected officials and then the general population. The general population they're sitting by and just, that's our guy, that's our dude. So yeah, it's interesting. You've got a fun little event that's coming up tomorrow that kind of wanted to highlight and chat about. And it's you're going to be doing a live event. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, one of the things that I try to do is try to go live at least once a week and have different people on that I've met and have had the opportunity to talk to. And so tomorrow night, there's a couple down in Tennessee, Lisa Austin and Gary Russell-Ward. He's a musician, and she runs, they both run, but she's the brainchild behind a place called Sacred Dog Ranch, which is a sanctuary for animals. They have, they're environmentalists, they're naturists, they're animal lovers, they're progressive liberals. They came from the West Coast and relocated in Tennessee years ago to try to focus on Gary's music, and he's hit some resistance in Nashville, because I didn't realize this until a few years ago, and now it's even more apparent. I always viewed Nashville as kind of a liberal town, and evidently it's not. It's the country music scene has been taken over by a huge contingency of conservative Christians. So anybody that comes into the area and has a more liberal way of viewing things or going about things. They're shown resistance. Of course, there are liberal country entertainers. We know many of them,
right.
But the town itself, I guess, is not quite what some of us portray it to be. So, but I'm looking forward to it. They're great people. Gary's going to play a few of his songs live. I'm just looking for it. It's just to help. One of the things I learned from you about is locking arms and standing shoulder to shoulder. This is just one of the ways that I try to do it by talking to people that maybe not everybody in our community knows about, but we'll have the opportunity to get to know them and, hear what they have to say and understand that there's progressive liberals all around the country, even in states like Indiana and Tennessee and Alabama and states where you wouldn't think they're
oh yeah, I mean you look at the number. I mean, this is the thing that I think from a and I hope I can say this with some cogency to make up a word. In every state in the country, there is a percentage of people that don't vote for the. And then let me be more specific to come back to something that you texted me earlier that we'll talk about in this last little bit. There in every state, not everybody that's in a red state votes for the red candidates and or votes red in the general election, because the percentages typically in the red states are around 60% to 30%, 60% red, 30 to 40% blue, sometimes lower. It might be closer to 68%. The point I'm making is there's always a percentage of folks that vote in the other direction, and the same is true in blue states. Well, not every blue state, 100% of the people vote blue; they vote red. So, but that's the point that you're really trying to zero in on, is that even in some of these areas where it's a bastion of red, there are those who are standing up and raising their hands. You're one of those people, ironically, where you are in Indiana. So it's cool that you're doing this event with Lisa and with Gary.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the problem in a lot of states where that liberals, I know that in Indiana, one of the problems with Democrats in this state, and that we're trying to work on, or at least I'm trying to work on, is that there's just not a lot of hope with what we have, as far as people just don't think it's worth voting, because we just don't have a chance to break through, because the Republicans are so much in control of our state and have been for so long that people just feel like it's, kind of a moot point to do that. So we're trying to change that point of view. And I have to admit, in the past, I've had that same kind of opinion too. Yeah. That, in Indiana, it's
it's Indiana.
It's Indiana. I mean, my vote's not going to count, but I've learned since then. Because we all learn as we educate ourselves and further our, expansion of trying to gain knowledge, that, the way I looked at things before maybe wasn't the right way to look at it. And so that's, why I do what I do today. So,
well,
but Indiana's a perfect example. So
I think it's a question of recognizing that things can be better, and how do I impact things getting better? Well, let me dig in a little bit. Let me research. Let me find. Let me talk about it. Let me bear my, ignorance, if you will, to say, hey, I don't know about this. How do we make a change? And you've been a champion of that since we met last year. And that's one of the things I applaud you for, is that you've said, you know what? Yeah, I'm in this reddest of red areas of a reddest of red states, but I'm going to still fight and push forward. And that's what more and more people. That's why what you're doing is drawing so many people to the message that you're putting out, is because people are saying, listen, if this dude in this reddest of red communities in the reddest of red states can have a message, then I sure as hell can have one too. So you are to be complimented for that. Hey, let me. I didn't want to steal your thunder. You sent me a text earlier when we were talking about. I put it out there. I said, listen. If it's happening in red states, I don't know about it. Prove me wrong, or come in, help educate me to know a little bit more, because I hadn't seen it. So that's why I said, somebody call in and tell me. And in fact, Heidi did. And you text me something that a lot of people don't realize about what's happening in Indiana. when it comes to leadership, and then that dotted line to education. So take a moment and just kind of help everybody understand what you sent to me.
Okay, well, first off, Heidi, if you're listening, I love you. Have some more coffee. I mean, that was great. Listen.
What is she on fire, man? I'm telling you.
Amp it up. Amp it up. Be loud and proud, Heidi. Thank you.
And wait, Kurt, one more thing. And Heidi, one of our other listeners, Natalie, said the same thing. She sent me a face full of smiles and go Heidi. So sorry, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was great. And that's what you do for people. You get them enthused and you get them involved, and that's what's great about you, and that's what I appreciate about you. So, but Heidi was right with so many of the things that she is saying. But the bottom line with what's happening at Indiana University, it all gets down to the fact that Mike Braun now has total control of the university because he is the only one that can select, elect, and appoint board trustees members. He's got total control of the university. And this is what the Republican Party is trying to do nationwide. Every time you hear them talk about we want to give power back to the states, this is an example of what they want to do. They want to be able to give these, MAGA Mike Braun, I've said this before, Indiana is the test ground for Project 2025. I'm convinced of it. There's something that happened between these two guys that made this deal, because what this dude is doing to our state is unbelievable. So Mike Braun has total control over Indiana University. So, of course, they're going to cut back on DEI and everything else. And now what you're going to see is their enrollment's going to drop like a rock, because Indiana has so many different, Indiana School of Law is one of the most respected law schools in the nation.
As is a business school, which I said earlier.
And as a business school. Yeah. So watch what happens when all of this, these people talk about DEI and they don't understand what it even means, just like they don't understand what woke means, a CRT or any of those things,
Yep.
And they think it's a bad thing and they're going to watch. It's going to explode them. But that's exactly what, the felon is doing with Harvard. They're trying to gain control of institutions like that. So, just pay attention to what's going on with these things. When you hear stuff happening, dive into it a little bit, and you'll find out a lot of things that you're going to go, wow, this is never had any idea. But yeah, this is what happened. This is what's happening. He's destroying our education here in Indiana.
And Mike Braun, for those who don't know, Mike Braun is the governor of the state of Indiana.
Yeah.
So just so y'all know who he is.
Right. Yeah. He was a senator and he was a MAGA. He all of the cliches. But his tax bill and what they passed, they're saying that Indiana school system is going to probably experience a $1.9 billion loss in revenue.
Wow.
And when you take that into consideration of what kind of effect that's going to have, it's absolutely mind-boggling. I wanted to. I know we're running out of time, and I hate this that we run out of time so quick. But do you ever look at KFF? The Kaiser Family Foundation website.
I'm familiar with, but don't look at their site that often, to be honest.
Okay, well, you need to check out, and people should go there and look at some things, because they're an independent organization out of California, and they're talking about the Medicaid cuts of this tax bill and the impact that it's going to have on states and different different areas that it's going to impact. And they have a chart here that I wanted to tell you some things real quick. And like I said, I know we're running out of time. But Illinois and Indiana, okay? The change in Medicaid spending per resident in Illinois is going to drop 28%, and in Indiana it's going to drop 29%. Right. The increase in state taxes per resident is going to increase 5% in each state. And then the decrease in state education spending per pupil is going to drop 29% and 13% in those two states. So when you hear, Medicaid's being defunded, $650 billion or whatever the number is, and that's one of the things that's frustrating is that the numbers are all over the place. But they're in it's around $600 billion. They have effects on many different areas, not just Medicaid itself or not just Medicare itself. There's, like you've talked before, it's the loss of revenue because of
what? Yeah, I mean, no, and that's it. It's I'm feeling your struggle, but not because you're struggling, but because there's so much to put our arms around with this. That those reductions. They talk about trickle down. The trickle down will be that they're reducing benefits while increasing the tax burden on folks under a certain dollar amount. And I read those numbers off last week. But this is where people have to pay attention to understand it's not just the reductions in one. It's the inverse relationship. One thing's going down, meanwhile the other thing is going up. So. You said it best that we're running out of time. But listen, man, maybe we'll pick up on that next week. We'll see how things go because between now and next Tuesday evening, a whole bunch of stuff's going to change. So we'll see where we are. But listen, guys, we're not going to make any promises of what we will chat about because come next Tuesday at noon, who knows what's going to change. So one thing that's not going to change is Kurt Mullett's involvement and leaning into the challenges that we have in front of us and the hard work that he's putting in every single day. So thanks for being with us, man, as always, and really appreciate what you're doing, and thanks for the leadership that you're showing. So talk soon.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Talk to you next week. Bye now.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, we're going to hit a quick break. Number is 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning lawyer who drafts living trusts and wills. Since the election, I've been hearing from my clients, many of them fellow WCPT listeners, and we all wonder, how did this happen and what can we do? The how is, of course, very complicated. My thoughts as regard to what we can do is simple but important. We need to take extra care of those we love. Having an estate plan using either a living trust or will can provide comfort in uncertain times like these. When the progressive values we hold dear are under attack, I feel we must make sure that our personal lives are secure and then work out from there. I've been drafting estate plans for my clients for over 30 years, and I will use all of that experience to help you. Please call me at 847-996-0496. My website is moreylawoffice.com. That's More spelled M-O-R-E-E. Again, the phone is 847-996-0496. There is no cost or obligation for our initial discussion. I look forward to speaking with you.
Fear. It is the common denominator of people. Though we may not admit to it, we all have a fear. Right now, a lot of us fear the path of our country. Will war be inevitable? Can we buy a home? Will we have food on the table? This is Dr. Anna Pellet from Total Dentistry. Though we can't answer those concerns, we can help you in getting over the fear of your dental visit. Fear should not be an obstacle. Nothing should. Here at Total Dentistry, we walk you through all aspects of your dental visit. We will ask you, what are you comfortable with? And what will it take to get you comfortable through your treatment? Pain, fear, and anxiety are unique to every individual. So our strategies at Total Dentistry are unique and customized to your needs. Transparent discussions, helping you find the means to get to your health goals, that is our goal. So visit us at totaldentistry.org or call 847-358-2477. Total Dentistry, a general dental practice like no other.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see a few scattered rain showers here for today with cloudy skies and temperatures holding rather steady. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a slight chance for rain, cloudy, a low near 53. By Thursday, a slight chance for rain showers here late, cloudy skies, high of 68 degrees. Friday, a slight chance for showers and thunderstorms here late. Blend of clouds and sunshine develops, high of 79. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 59.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, welcome back, Progressive. 773-763-9278 is the Credo mobile phone and text line. This morning, we have, as you know, we always try to make sure we're landing our conversation to talk with some of the local issues that are happening here in Chicago or the state of Illinois, and certainly those issues that are important to the folks that are right here in our great state. With us this morning is Senator Lakesia Collins, who is from the 5th District of the state of Illinois, one of our state senators. And welcome back to the show, Madam Senator. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Been talking a lot this morning. I guess that's what happens with the morning talk shows.
Yes.
Wow. Well, good to have you back. It's been a few weeks, but good to have you back with us on the show. And as always, our General Assembly, our state elected officials are some busy folks, you guys. And one of the reasons that I have really been a big proponent of talking about what's happening on a local level and a state level is because we've had such a, I guess you could say, loss of power in some of our state legislatures, I should say, throughout the country. And being able to be more involved with what happens on a state level gives us more power with what will happen on a federal level. So I appreciate your hard work and your commitment. And, of course, your colleagues that we've had on the show have all been fighting hard to make sure that the state of Illinois is represented in a strong way. You've been a big proponent of a recent, and this is something that's become a part of the national conversation as well, but right here in Illinois, you've been really pushing hard on legislation to protect homeowners from illegal squatting. And so tell us a little bit about Senate bill that you're working on. I think is it 1653, is that correct?
Yes, it's 1563. And it's an initiative that, a constituent brought to my attention. I've always heard a little bit of stuff here and there about squatters, but I don't think it got to this point as far as to really get me to pay a whole lot of attention to it. And so a constituent reached out last year towards the fall session. And, of course, in the fall session at veto, we're kind of only focusing on bills that got vetoed or last-minute bills to get out. And so I told my constituent, hey, I will file this bill first thing when we get back to session next year, which is this year, and talk to some of the legal team about it to see what would be the best practice to do in order to protect the tenant, the homeowner, and to identify squatters and give law enforcement direction. And that's how we came up with Senate Bill 1563. It did pass unanimously out of the Senate. It just passed the House, I think last week, which Jaharia Williams, who was the 10th District state rep within my 5th District, who sponsored it in the House. And then LaShawn Ford, of course, he was a chief co-sponsor on the bill as well. But it was a no-brainer for us in the Senate. I think a lot of my colleagues heard about, these issues, and I think it had gotten to the point, especially with some of the journalism that was happening around it, kind of raised more attention and, got more folks to want to try to do something about it. So it was one of those bills that was the right time. I was in the right place, right time, and my constituent just, he called me, I answered, and we just responded.
Got it. Well, I mean, I think the the most important thing you just said there is that it was the right time, and that I think anytime there is a constituent that brings something to an elected official, that's the right time. And you probably witnessed on all levels here in the state and certainly on a federal level where people will sort of politic and say now's not the time to talk about something. And whether it be this or whether it be any other community issue, when a constituent comes forward, to have someone like you act on it is what I think is one of the tenets of good leadership. So kudos to you there, Madam Senator, for saying that it needs to be dealt with. Who have been some of your allies in this space? I always like to ask that question when I'm talking with the elected official to find out, who's working with you on this and who's been. I know LaShawn Ford has been one of the champions, but who else has been mindful of the importance of this?
And so I'm gonna. It's crazy because again, some constituent brought this legislation to me. So, in my mind, I'm just being honest. Whenever a constituent brings, because this is not the first time legislation was brought to me by a constituent and I acted on it. I don't never think about, how big this legislation would be. I'm always thinking about, how do I get to the finish line?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened with the squatters bill. I was saying to myself, I think I'm going to get some pushback, But Nia Kelly from the Homeless Coalition, when she, I guess, saw the draft of the bill when it was filed, she immediately came to me and she was just like, hey, want to help you on this. What can I do? We really want to help. And we support this bill. And I'm like, what? Like that. Because you think about it, squatters and, and things I used to hear back in the day. It's like this is an organized group of folks, and it's all over the country, right, where folks pretty much take over property. And she became one of the people that helped me really get it to the point where it became unanimous.
Got it. So delving into a bill like this, I do have a question about something you just said. So it's a national issue. It's happening in many states and communities across the country. So it's a silly question, but it's a silly question in the sense that it's a simple question. Why is it grown so much here in the state of Chicago, city of Chicago, surrounding communities, state of Illinois, and throughout the country? What's in looking into this and putting together a bill that we would get passed? What have you found has been the reasons or reasoning behind this?
The reasoning behind it is because people were suffering in silence. When these homeowners, or people who own these properties, when they would have to be faced with a squatter, originally they were taken through an eviction process because there was nothing else in place really but to put them in an eviction process. And I'm like, an eviction process, that's a long drawn out process. And so a lot of the times these homeowners, they were still trying to figure it out. And some of them were getting swindled out of money. They were paying these folks to leave. Some of them would come right back. Some of them were claiming to have such rights. And that doesn't even exist, So and that's why I said, once comes out in the open, then you will see where the other folks who are dealing with the same issue, now they're speaking out. Like, oh, no, this happened to me. My property was, damaged for I couldn't give it to this squatter. And I think it had got to the point where people just got tired. I was like, something has to be done about this. This is getting ridiculous. And what is the thing for the people go to a lawman, they'll go to the news. So that's and I didn't even know that there was a report out on it at the time when I filed the bill. Mm-hmm. I didn't find out until after the bill passed in the chamber.
Right.
And that's when I was, oh, wow, and that's how Representative Ford got involved. I just sent the bill to one of my reps because it happened on his side of the district that I represent. And I'm just like, hey, you carry this bill. And he's like, well, what about, what happens if this? And I said, look, this is a good bill. I think you need to read these reports. I think you need to, check with your legal team over there and see that this is the best protection right here. And sure enough, he did do whatever he needed done.
Yeah. Hey, Senator, your connection's kind of dropping in and out a little bit, so it got a little fuzzy. I don't know if you moved to a different part of your office or whatever, but it got a little bit fuzzy there. That's okay. I just wanted to let you know because I know you were dropping some knowledge on us about this very important area. On a national level, on a local level, wherever it is. It ranges from families who are returning from I saw in your bill, that families that are returning home from vacation to find people that are living in their homes, to people who have, people thought a property was vacant and it wasn't, and then folks took over and squatted at that property. I mean, is that kind of what you're seeing in terms of the different ways in which people are doing this?
Yes, and then some people are breaking into properties that are sale too.
Okay.
So literally what they're doing is breaking locks off, moving their stuff in. And the young lady who did it in my area, she was posting things online. And it became a public safety issue where, if the back prop porch or something like that is damaged anyway, but if the person goes back there off the porch, now they're dealing with more issues, right? There was a public safety issue. A lot of the times they will damage property on the inside, tear holes into the wall, tear up the furniture, all types of stuff, right? And so it leaves the homeowners with no help because the police didn't have any direction on what to do. So they would just tell them, you have to get them evicted. And so, I had to put myself in the homeowner's shoe at that moment. Like, you know what? How would I feel if I come home or come back to my house and it's a whole stranger there telling me this is my property now?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to think about that. People were literally suffering in silence, and now they have an opportunity to, get these rules without having to go through this drought process and lose thousands and thousands of dollars to do it.
Got it. Wow, what a big bill and an important bill. But to hear you say and use a phrase, people who are suffering in silence. I get it. They basically were throwing their hands up because they weren't able to get any sort of support or help from law enforcement. So now this bill puts some teeth in the ability for law enforcement to actually be able to act. Correct?
Correct.
Got it. Fantastic. Lakesia Collins, also known as Senator Lakesia Collins from the 5th District here in the great state of Illinois. I know you've been super busy, and this has been one of your top efforts, and thank God for your constituent that brought this to you. But you've also been pushing hard in some other areas recently, particularly when it comes to making sure that nurse midwives have more independence and flexibility. Take a moment and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's House Bill 288. And I carried this to, and it pretty much just give them more independence and flexibility away from an actual physician having to be right there by their sides, right? They will still be a part of some of the, procedures and things like that that they do, but it really gives them more independence, as they did back in the day, right?
Right.
And this is a part of, my maternal health initiatives that I've been doing since before birth equity. And it's just a continuation of that, bringing back our ancestral, to our maternal space for African-American women.
Yeah.
I had a midwife, I had a doula. I remember that experience with all 3 of my kids. So I know how important this piece is for the maternal space, especially, just having a different option of how you want to bring your child into the world. And so this bill in particular, it was a no-brainer for me. I had the Senate version, she had the House version. And for folks that don't know, sometimes one might make it through before the other, and that's pretty much what happened with the situation. But my rep, she pretty much championed it in the House, and of course I passed it in the Senate. So that's how we were able to get this passed across the finish line.
State officials, y'all, getting things done right here in the great state of Illinois. Senator Collins, thank you as always for being with us. And I know that you got a busy day and you guys are going to try to get things wrapped up by the end of this week or by Saturday with regard to the session. So you're running very, very hard and fast right now. But thank you for taking some time out to be with us. And we appreciate all the hard work that you and your colleagues are putting in here in the Illinois General Assembly. So we'll talk with you soon after you get back. We'll look out to have you back on the show sometime in June. Does that sound good?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Senator Lakesia Collins from the 5th District here in Illinois. Thanks for being with us, ma'am. We'll talk with you soon.
Thank you. You have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, she's she's busy. And, you know, this is the thing why I find it important that we talk with our state officials. I said this so many times, we'll say it over and over again. Our state of Illinois is doing the work. It is it's an example of the things that can get done on a state level. We have a great group of folks that have been elected that are working hard. They push each other. I've talked with a number of them. They push each other to do better. You can hear with what Senator Collins said about the representatives in her area, that she's in her district, that she's working hard to make sure that there's a cohesive sort of teamwork effort in getting things done. And I think that's important and sometimes missed when we talk about what happens just on the federal level. So we try to give you a little bit of a balance. But I love the fact that we've got people here in Illinois that are setting the pace. So kudos to Senator Lakesia Collins. Let's grab a quick call as we kind of wrap up the show today. Let's go to Dave in Hoffman Estates, who's been patiently holding. Good morning, Dave, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. I hope you and I and your family had a thoughtful Memorial Day weekend.
We definitely did. Thank you.
You cannot say happy.
Yeah.
Because
it's a celebration of something that isn't happy, but it also is a celebration and a recognition of this history that this country has. So I hear what you're saying about Happy Memorial Day. You have to be careful in just saying enjoy your Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, you're there to, as Kurt said, recognize these heroes that are and they usually hold them in a cemetery or a veterans place that's the gardens of stone with the headstone. So yeah, you don't say happy, you change it to thoughtful, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct with President Biden. He's the only one that did talk the talk and walk the walk figuratively.
Yep.
If you recall, President Obama, he talked the talk that time, but he didn't walk the walk with the Madison teachers, if you remember.
What you talking about with the unions?
Yeah. With the brown walking.
Well,
Biden warning.
And that's why, I take the position of rather than, throttling Biden, President Obama or President Clinton democratically or Democrats that were elected to presidency, I look at Biden when they say he didn't do or didn't talk to, or the administration didn't talk to the regular everyday person. He's the only president that I know of in my lifetime, Democrat or Republican, that stood with literally unions. He went there. And conversely, the people who bought into Trump's garbage that said he was down with the unions and down with the regular everyday people, that same week, I don't know if it's the same day, but I'm going to say the same week, Trump was holding a rally, a fundraiser at a non-union shop in the Detroit metropolitan area. Meanwhile, President Biden was walking with the unions. And yet people are saying, but the Dems aren't doing enough to talk. Really?
Sadly, the Democrats always took the unions for granted, that they had that vote for granted. So that's the sad part. And the other front with Trump pardoning these Chrisleys now. He truly does look like Harvey Korman in Blazing Saddles when he was taking deputies, any kind of drag of society, he just threw them up that were lined up in that. So, and I'll leave you with this one. Like this television, she was reading online on some either Financial Times or whatever, but it's an acronym for this pertains to Trump. acronym for the word taco. And it is taco. It's Trump always chickens out.
That's a good one. Trump always chickens out.
You know, Kurt's making a hat. They're the one for a hat idea.
All right, Dave. Thanks for your call, man. Thanks for your contribution. Have a good day.
Be well.
All right. Bye now. Trump always chickens out. Wow. Well, I know. I almost forgot. Henry's looking at me to make sure I do two things. We got a clip for you, but I want to give out a phone number again. Sorry, guys. It was requested that we give out the number to the Capitol switchboard again, and that is 202-224-3121. Again, 202-224-3121. Give that number a call as we fight for keeping this bill from moving forward. We're going to play this clip for you guys. I want you to hear this, and this is from a contributor on social media, better known as Mom on the Loose, and it's "You didn't vote for Trump."
Everyone, I want to break this down for everybody to understand. You didn't vote for Trump. You voted for the people controlling him, and they're far more dangerous. You think you voted for Trump? No. You voted for an empire of billionaires, corporations, and far-right think tanks that are using him as a distraction. Let's be real. Trump doesn't write policies. He doesn't pick the staff. He doesn't craft executive orders. He's not smart enough for that. Just look at his business track record. Trump Airlines failed. Trump casinos bankrupt multiple times. Trump Steaks, a complete joke. Trump University, shut down for fraud. Surprise, surprise. Trump Vodka, Trump Mortgage, Trump Magazine, all flopped. Yet somehow the guy is running the most powerful country in the world? No, he's not. He's just the front man. The real power is in the hands of three main groups. The Heritage Foundation, they wrote the plan to dismantle democracy. They created Project 2025, that plan, the blueprint for removing worker protections, killing DEI programs, gutting education, and consolidating power, which we're seeing every single day. They are choosing who will be in charge of every government agency, ensuring total control. The other one, America First Policy Institute, they are running his administration. They handpicked Trump's staff and cabinet. He's just reading the names. They wrote the first 300 executive orders for him to sign. Trump isn't writing policy. AFPI is. The third, billionaire corporate interests. They fund it all. Oracle's Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, and other mega donors are paying for this power grab. Why? Because they want to remove worker protections, crush wages, and create a workforce that can't fight back. They're bringing back company towns, which in reality are modern-day slave camps. Have you seen the pictures? Trump can't even run a business, but you think he's running a country? Trump is nothing but a loud, obnoxious distraction designed to manipulate people with fear and outrage. They picked him because he speaks to the uneducated and to the biased. They knew he would rile up emotions and make people ignore facts and also worship his mega brand, which he profits from, by the way. You voted for an authoritarian empire, not Trump. They don't care about democracy. They don't care about your rights. They don't care about you. They are stripping away all of what we need: worker protections, education, diversity, and democracy, so billionaires can control every part of your life. Trump is just a puppet for the much darker force. And the worst part, they made you cheer for it. Wake up.
So, for those who want to say, woke is dead, woke is bad, don't be woke. No, the ending clip, in the part of that clip, wake up. Yeah, because a lot of people are see, this is where the co-opting of woke happened. It made it seem as though it was about issues that were for folks of color, black folks and other folks of color, the LGBTQ community, and the list goes on. That's not what woke is about. Ultimately, it's about waking up and paying attention to what's going on around you. And you don't have to be a black male or female or any other person of color, community of color, to be part of a woke movement. It's about paying attention to what the hell is going on. What's going on behind the curtain? That's what woke is at its basic definition. It's about paying the hell attention, being aware. Don't sit back and have them tell you, oh, no, we've got this, we're in control. Because they sure in hell, they're marching down that path, just as she said. They're marching down that path to make you less involved, less effective, taking away your ability to have a voice, or more frankly, concerning is your desire to have a voice, to take away your will. We will not have our will taken away. We cannot allow that to happen. And that's why every day I talk about fighting. Yeah, it's tough. It's hard. It's where we are, unfortunately. But we're not going to let them take away our will. I certainly am not. I'm not going to be the one. So I don't want you guys to be either. With that, as always, we want to say thanks for being with us. We got a great show lined up tomorrow. Take a deep breath, y'all. Make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business